Hello friends of Holga. I'm Olivia, and this is my Flannery video defense, and this mic doesn't work. So yeah. Alright, so I chose to follow characters Julian and Holga within Good Country People and All That Rises Must Converge. In comparing the two, I found that there was a very distinct overall progression that they followed, like a 4-step process. So the first step was kind of this creation of arrogance, because Julian and Holga both have educations that the people around them don't, such as their mothers. They have this arrogance which tricks them into believing that they're much smarter than everyone else, and much smarter than they actually are. It makes them feel as though their opinions are the only ones that are legitimate. The second step is this creation of a false reality. So the arrogance constructs a false perspective on reality, which kind of blinds them from the truth. So Julian believes he isn't racist, and Holga thinks that she's an atheist. That's only what they tell themselves, so that they can separate themselves from their mothers. They want to be these new age intellectuals, and they can't really do that if they have the same beliefs as their mothers. Their mothers believe the things of the past: racism, Christ, and Good Country People. Because they've constructed this false reality, you gave me the word solipsism. I used the meaning of it, but I didn't know what the word was, so I called it a dissociation. So in order to feel superior, or at least better about themselves, they lower their mothers. So in Julian and Holga's heads, they are the only ones capable of thought, and everyone else is simply this empty, automated, human-like machine. As if Julian and Holga, within their own, individual stories, they're the only ones that exist, and everyone else is like a prop or a part of their imagination. They eventually are revealed to be posers and pseudo-intellectuals, pseudo-intellectual being a false intellectual, someone who isn't actually as smart as they say they are. Julian he shows that he dehumanizes people, black people, and that he is racist within his conversations on the bus and through his fantasies. I think this is best noted in the quote: "He would have liked to get in conversation with the Negro and to talk with him about art or politics or any subject that would be above the comprehension of those around them. But the man remained entrenched behind his paper. He was either ignoring the change of seating or had never noticed it. There was no way for Julian to convey his sympathy." And then Holga, she clings on to her mother's words when questioned of her own belief and identity with Manly. He reveals that he's basically conned her. This is probably best seen in this quote. "Her voice when she spoke had an almost pleading sound. 'Aren't you,' she murmured, 'aren't you just Good Country People?' Her face was almost purple. 'You're a Christian,' she hissed. 'You're a fine Christian. You're just like them all. Say one thing and do another. You're a perfect Christian. You're—' The boy's mouth was set angrily. 'I hope you don't think,' he said in a lofty and dingent tone, 'that I believe in that crap. I may sell Bibles, but I know which end is up, and I wasn't born yesterday, and I know where I'm going.'" So again, I'll follow that up in a second. Julian and Holga, they try to put up this front of who they want to be, which is not their mothers, but they always return to the truth, the fact that they are their mothers. This fault is unavoidable, because they're subconsciously aware of their lies. This is evident within their hatred of their mothers. They would not hate their mothers if they knew that they were just like them. So now returning to the evidence, and these big reveals of Julian and Holga. So in the lines I read, I identified the moments which were the two moments where they essentially admitted to themselves that they're lying about their beliefs, denying that their beliefs are from their mothers, derived from their mothers. As I said, they only claim to believe the things they do because this means that they're not influenced by their mothers and by the past and old world ideas. They cling to modernity and progressivism because it's what will separate them from their mom or their mothers. They don't want to admit this to anyone, even to themselves, which is sort of why this whole thing is constructed. They can't admit to themselves that they're lying. So when Manly reveals his identity to Holga, she realizes that she's been lying to herself. Manly knows who he is, and he knows that he's lying, but he's not lying to himself. He's completely aware of his lies. But Holga lies to herself and everyone around her. She's trying to live through this entire lie. There's no point of distinction of who she is and who she presents herself as. So when she pleads that Manly, "Aren't you just Good Country People?" she's collapsing into her mother's words and kind of accepting them as true. Because of her, this skewed perspective of reality and how she dehumanizes everyone into these props, she can't really imagine Manly as anything other than one of her mother's cliches. He becomes this sort of set character to follow a script within her world. And we see this later with Julian, because it's like as much as she wants to be her own person, she actually becomes her mother and is brought down to her mother's level using this cliche. And I think that through this, she like admits that she wants to believe in something. She's constantly trying to uphold this like idea of nihilism and atheism, but right here she's clinging on to this belief. So she's sort of shaken from this false reality. And then Julian and how he's on the bus fantasizing about talking to black people just to anger his mother. He like fantasizes about redeeming himself through not being racist, how he like wants to get the sympathies of them. And I feel like if you're trying to prove that you're not racist, you're probably racist. He's doing this not to be like a good person. He's doing this so that he can receive like this moral congratulations, like good job, you're not racist. His intentions aren't really trying to like, you know, build a racial divide or advocating for black rights. He just wants to feel like he's accomplished something that makes him better than his mother, and kind of again like how Holga, when he wants to separate himself from his mother, he uses the black people on the bus as props. He's not treating them as people, he's using them as characters. And then when his mother's left on the sidewalk, he kind of gets brought back down to reality. He's lowered enough so that he could see who he really is, because they're both sitting on the concrete. They're both affected by the consequences of their racism. So kind of just to conclude this, Julian and Holga follow this progression, beginning with their arrogance, which is constructed from their education. This arrogance creates a false perspective on reality and dissociates them from reality so that only they exist within their heads, which is, as I said, a solipsism. But I think in that they reveal themselves as liars. They kind of reveal it to themselves that they can't keep this lie up forever. They ultimately have to face the truth and have to be brought back down to the sidewalk, and they have to be brought out of their heads onto the same level as their mothers, because I think that as much as they've been trying to deny being like their mothers, I think through that they are denying themselves. In the end, they become what they denied. They become themselves. They are brought back to their true self.
All right, so I forgot to film an actual conclusion, but I just wanted to say thank you for watching, and please give me an A.